European settlers found the Great Plains to be vast and desolate. By the end of the 20th century, it was becoming an endangered ecosystem. These grasslands include the Permian Basin, an important region for livestock grazing and oil and gas production. The area is also home to the lesser prairie chicken and dune sagebrush lizard. By the late 1990s, habitat fragmentation and shinnery oak removal was changing the landscape. The competing land uses had these species headed towards an endangered species listing. This had a lot of people asking, what does the future hold for conservation in the southern Great Plains?
Shinnery oak is the only habitat for the dune sagebrush lizard. And for the chickens, the importance is they use these areas for breeding, brooding, nest rearing, and it does provide the basis for the habitat for both species.
Large landscape conservation for prairie chickens is extremely important. Their home ranges can be 20,000 acres for a population, and so it's important to do conservation on that scale.
The lizards are so specialized for living here that they only live in the open patches of sand. And the size and shape and arrangement of these dune blowouts in the landscape is directly linked to the vitality of that neighborhood.
It's their home. You have a diversity of vegetation for not only winter cover, winter foods. The shinnery oak provide an enormous amount of food source for these species. And so it's a very unique system that actually encompasses almost all the living requirements that are necessary for both species to survive here.
A lot of ranchers, you know, when Fish and Wildlife Service, or you talk about endangered, just mention Endangered Species Act. I mean, the hair on the back of their neck goes up, and they're ready for a fight. And a lot of that's a misunderstanding.
They think, okay, there's no options. This is we're cramming this down your throat. We're in control now because this is in a different category, and you're subservient to that. That's scary.
Though that is definitely not the case, there is a real fear that private landowners have, and industry as well.
And I think the service is coming around to really realize that from the get-go, you have to get on the ground and start talking to people.
And maybe get everybody on board to talk about a solution and participate in how we can do that and not drive somebody out. And then that's kind of what we need to do.
The Candidate Conservation Agreement and Candidate Conservation Agreement with Assurances, or as we say CCA and CCAA, are both cooperative conservation agreements that we've implemented here in southeast New Mexico.
These two agreements are to bring into effect a cooperation, a collaboration of industry, of landowners, of federal and state agencies who will all come together with the same basic purpose and reason, and that is the conservation of the dune sagebrush lizard and the lesser prairie chicken.
The reason behind that was the decline of both the lesser prairie chicken and the dune sagebrush lizard.
It aims to protect realistically the habitat. From the Bureau of Land Management standpoint, wildlife itself is not something that we manage because that is a function of the state primarily. what we can manage is habitat. And so realistically, the CCA program does a wonderful job of that because it makes some funding available, gets everybody to the same page as goal-oriented. Let's fix the habitat, and the lesser prairie chicken and the sand dune lizard should thrive.
The goal of the CCA and the CCAA is to recognize that we're in a landscape that both the habitat for the chicken and the lizard exist, but there's also other land uses such as ranching and oil and gas.
We had industry folks from oil and gas, the ranching community did some outreach with the environmental community and tried to pull a team together that ended up becoming a working group.
And over the course of 3 years, hammered out issues that would affect them if either one of these species were listed.
So we would have a meeting every month to try to write this and make it where ranchers could live with it and the oil and gas industry could live with it. And so could y'all, U.S. Fish and Wildlife and the Game Department.
At first, the agreements were written by biologists and not necessarily written in the way that they had a good business plan.
The problem came in that to enroll prior to a listing, the oil companies needed to enroll all their leases. We are now talking into tens to hundreds of millions of dollars to enroll.
So the oil companies stepped up and helped us develop a new approach to the agreement that allowed them to better participate.
These agreements were created over a long period of time. They didn't just happen overnight. It started out a little rocky, and there were a lot of arguments, and there was some contention. But over time, everyone in the room began to believe in each other.
We, there again, had the key players at the table, not only for education, to just get total buy-in by all partners.
It was a plan that epitomized cooperation and collaboration among people of vastly diverse and, in some cases, opposing opinions, but they all came to the same conclusions, and they all learned to compromise.
It's a 200-meter buffer around the wetland for avoidance.
The roles of the CCA include the Fish and Wildlife Service bringing the regulatory aspect, the BLM bringing the aspect of oil and gas management, rangeland management through the permitting process and NEPA.
If you're a private landowner like a rancher or a farmer, then your role is to make sure that there's access to your land and that you're conducting your activities that are consistent with conservation of the species. Or if you're a permit holder like the Center for Excellence, then your job is to administer the program.
To our benefit, we have the Center of Excellence, who is very good at handling money, very good at doing contracts, very good at having technical expertise on hand when needed.
They also work on the CCA side to help with the development plans and conservation associated with the dune sagebrush lizard and lesser prairie chicken.
We've focused on the oil and gas industry and the ranching industry because those are the two largest users of the land. We set up a conservation fund so that oil and gas pays into the fund for every action that's permitted out there.
The partnership developed a cost structure for impacts, and it was based on the cost of restoring all the associated infrastructure.
The CCA for an oil and gas industry is pretty simple. We sign up our mineral leaseholds at a varying rate of cost per acre. That goes into a bank account.
And then what we can do with that money is turn it into conservation actions by funding rangeland health issues, such as providing water on the landscape, or working on rotation patterns with the ranchers, and maybe funding as an offset.
The CCA and the CCAA also gives, for your livestock community and oil and gas companies, a sense of security that they can continue business. They just have to abide by the requirements that are necessary to maintain that CCA.
This is a windmill that we've converted to a solar pump. It's a project that we funded through the Candidate Conservation Agreement. What happened here was a wind shear came through and actually tore his windmill up, so we wasn't able to get any water on this pasture for his cattle. So the rancher asked, hey, can we try to get something out here, get a solar going? Went through the process, got it funded. So we got out here, took the windmill tower down and placed a solar panel in here and a solar pump. A big reason that we want to take these towers out of here is it's a vertical structure, and the lesser prairie chicken has an avoidance to vertical structures. What it allows is for year-round water. Any days that are sunny, we're producing water for his livestock. It's an all-around better deal for the rancher too. Like I said, it provides year-round water, not only for the cattle, but for wildlife. And that's what we try to do with these conservation measures and these conservation projects, is to improve the habitat, not for just one species, but the wildlife as a whole. And that's our main drive.
My reaction to the CCA, CCAA implementation was I felt very satisfied that we had accomplished our goals, being able to develop the resources.
It meant that we were being proactive as opposed to reactive, and doing our conservation before a listing was done. So yeah, I was very excited about that.
After Kim came along, and my reaction was this could help and benefit everyone if everyone gets along with it.
I think it helped us feel like we had somebody on our side, that from a conservation standpoint.
I can't say that it's a big change for us, but it's been nice because people like you all from the Center of Excellence have been able to come in and do some good projects for us. So I think that good things are happening as a result of the partnership, and I don't see any negatives at all from it. We're glad to be part of it.
One of the main things that makes it very successful is it's easy to understand. Because of that, it makes it very simple for all the agencies and also for the oil and gas industry to be able to use it in our day-to-day business.
It is also successful because it has an accountability component to it. So if a participant does not implement the conservation measures or does not follow the agreement, then you lose participation and protection under this program.
A lot of communication has happened. The Center of Excellence has been wonderful for us to work with. The agencies are good to work with. I think people just communicate really well about this, and I think that is probably the single biggest reason for success.
What makes it successful is the voluntary nature of the agreement and the permit holder's ability to actually go out and implement restoration.
They have got some programs available that I've signed up and I'm going to participate in that are going to be good for livestock and good for wildlife.
The oil and gas have thrown in a huge amount of funding, which has really helped fill in our gaps. We're just getting
awesome stuff done on the ground that would have been years and years out.
It's a win-win agreement from what we can see. I think that it's the kind of agreement that lets landowners work together with agencies and really have some good things come out of it.
This is an oil field road that we've taken up. We've pulled the caliche off. It's a calcium carbonate that the oil field companies will put down, and it's built a base so they can get their heavy equipment in here and drill an oil well. What it causes a lot of fragmentation in the habitat. So what we try to do is we come in, we pull that caliche back off to get back to good fertile soil, and then we'll reseed with native vegetation, native grasses such as big blue stem, little blue stem, and try to get those native grasses incorporated back in here. Pretty happy with this one. We did this one a year ago and timed the rains right with it, and it's come back real nice.
Begin them early as possible. We know we have candidates on the list, and when these opportunities come along to do collaborative voluntary conservation, we need to capitalize on them early and not run up against a listing deadline.
Think about implementation while you're planning. How are you going to get it on the ground? How are you going to enroll individuals into the plan?
If you do conventional things, you get conventional results. And if you're wanting better results, you need to think outside the way we normally do business.
One, have a core group of people that are very, very motivated.
Have clear set goals, but also as you look at your team, make sure you have a team that's willing to give and take.
Anytime you can cooperate, all go in the same direction and to benefit the land and to help the environment for the chicken, well, we're all gaining.
Don't think you know something you don't know. Don't think you need to come up with all the answers right away, and always be willing to listen and hear outside ideas.
Relationships are the key. You have to keep your landowners engaged. They have a question. They don't want to call you up for information and then not hear back from you for several days.
And although it may take one day to go out and install a wildlife water, it takes multiple days to maintain a relationship with those people that you may only do one project with them per year, but you talk to them on a nearly daily or even weekly basis in order to maintain that relationship that allows you to go out and do a project in one day.
When you're working with oil and gas, and you're working with ranchers, you really have to consider the entire picture. And until you do that, it's not going to work. The collaboration for industry and landowners means being able to plan.
This collaboration and future collaborations are extremely important for the industry.
It means that it gives us some protection, allows us to be able to keep ranching in the way that we have, and maybe look at some other things that would help us to improve our operations.
I think this collaboration means the future of the lesser prairie chicken and the dune sagebrush lizard.
We are actually paying attention to them, where their habitat may have been an afterthought. And now, on all of these different lands, we are actually considering both of these species in the planning of different activities on the landscape.
For the future of the Great Plains, this, once again, is a benchmark.
I think we've set up a very good model that others can look at.
This collaboration is a great start.
And we aspire right now to have these programs provide for us a great future, not only for the Southern Great Plains, but as a legacy for our children and grandchildren.